As I get older, I feel the connection I have with gaming has slowly started to fade away. I vividly remember daydreaming in school about coming home, firing up my 360, and poning some noobs on COD 4 with my buddies. I used to look forward to pay weeks from my after-school job so I could rush into GameStop and browse at the wall of used games, just imagining all of the amazing adventures there to uncover. But all that excitement is largely gone from my life at this point. New game releases just don't hit as hard as they did when I was a kid, and going into game shops to look at used libraries is practically a dead task at this point with the increase in digital sales. So I constantly find myself pondering the same thought. Why do I still love playing games, but it's just so much less exciting than it used to be? The first thought that came to my head is that games just simply aren't as good as they were before, but to be quite honest, that's completely untrue. Gaming storytelling is as good or better than it has ever been, graphics continue to increase and are mind-blowing at this point, and video game soundtracks are certified bangers almost every single time, so if it's not the game's fault, what else could it be? Overindulgence? Maybe. Playing games for over 20 years at this point will of course dilute the experience over time, so this is definitely something to consider, but I still love it. Maybe not in the way I once did, but this cannot be the only reason. And ultimately, what I've come to learn is that I believe the main reason for this shift is me. I find myself playing games passively. Being an adult comes with a ton of responsibilities and challenges that are always top of mind. And this directly affects my ability to connect to games and have them be my primary focus. Now, to tie into this, I want to tell you guys a little bit of a personal story from me. I believe everybody that's played video games for an incredibly long time has a story, and well, I think mine fits in to this conversation quite well, so I want to include it in here. So growing up, when I was a kid, I was a very middle-class kid. I had everything I could ever want, never had any issues with that. But my main issue in my household was my parents have a very interesting relationship. That I quite frankly don't understand how it works, but they're still together to this day. But the only way I can really describe it is an incredibly toxic relationship. They argue, yell, and fight with each other on a daily basis. I'm not talking once a week, once every couple weeks, once a month. No, it's every single night. So this left me, when I was younger, basically to take I had three options. The first option was I could still try to maintain the family relationship that I was living in and try to spend time with my parents, but then I was directly in their line of fire, and then I would just become a target. And to be honest, you know, as a young kid, I wasn't going to get in the middle of their arguments. I just couldn't be bothered, and I didn't want to be the target, especially when I don't think I had any reason to be. So that option was quickly removed from my head. The second option was to involve myself in more extracurricular activities to stay out of the house more. Things like sports, but I learned very quickly in life, I'm not the most athletic kid. And this is kind of a whole nother side story, but I feel like I didn't really give sports 100% of my effort, which I wish I would have as I've gotten older. There's a lot of benefits to playing sports in school that I kind of missed out on, but ultimately I just wasn't very good, so that option didn't work out well for me either. And the third option was to become a recluse, go into my room, close my door, put headphones on so I couldn't hear anything, and lose myself in media. That became music and, of course, video games, and primarily video games. So when I was living in this environment, I was so easily able to switch my brain off from real life mode and just dive into video games and give them all of my attention. And that's just not the way it works as an adult. To be quite honest, it was an escape for me. And I don't necessarily need an escape anymore in my life. I absolutely love my wife, so my partner is my best friend. I don't want to take any moment I have with her for granted. And with that, I want to spend as much time with her as I can. So she kind of takes number one priority in my life. And then, of course, I've got a shit ton of animals. If you've been around this channel for any period of time, you would know that. I've got 16 cats, constantly rotating foster cats, which increases that total to up over 20 at multiple times. And of course, every cat here deserves love and attention. So I got to give every cat love and attention when I get off of work. So that takes time. and I wouldn't trade that for the world. And then on top of that, we also have responsibilities as an adult, things to take care of at the house. I don't want my wife to do everything around here. So I do my best to pull my weight in that regard as well, which just quite frankly leaves me with less time to do the things that I absolutely want to do. But, you know, to be honest, and priorities come before pleasure, I guess. So that stuff has to be done as well. So it's just a lot harder to find the time. And when I do find the time, my brain's not all there. Like I mentioned, I play very passively, I feel like. It's almost like that feeling when you're driving home from work and you just all of a sudden arrive at your destination without any concept of the drive itself. A lot of times gaming does feel that way, and to be honest, that's why I created this channel in the first place. I wanted to give myself a reason to really connect to games again and review them, and I've been doing it for a year and a half now, and do I think my gaming habits have changed at all? To be quite honest, no, I don't. I don't think my reviews are that great, to be honest, because I'm not fully there. I'm not fully committed to the game when I'm playing it, but it's still in an effort to try to reconnect. And all of this, of course, tied into the fact that I clearly have a much shorter attention span than I did in the past, certainly doesn't help. The amount of time I spend scrolling TikToks and Instagram Reels is proof of my constant need to be satiated or distracted. I'm not blaming social media. That conversation has been beaten to death and back, but I do believe it does play a role. When I do find the time to actually sit down and play a video game, I always feel like I want to have another long-form video on in the background or music on in the background that kind of pulls my brain in two directions, and I find it very, very difficult to just solely focus on the video game, which I think is what I need to be able to reconnect to games. Now, over the last year and a half, I have put that aside and I have not done that stuff as much. So when I am playing through a game, I am focusing on it, but still, even without a long form video in the background or music, I'm still thinking about my next 12-hour shift at work, the never-ending dread of having to pay bills constantly, potentially not giving my wife the attention she needs, not taking care of the animals, not keeping up on my responsibilities at home, and all just compounds and kind of just by default puts me in a mood where I can't quite connect the way I used to. Now, I understand this entire video has been essentially boomer takes, just a guy ranting about not having time to do the things he loves and not being able to do them in the way that he loves. But what I want to end this video off with is the simple fact that I still absolutely love gaming. It's my favorite hobby. It will remain to be my favorite hobby for as long as I can possibly hold on to it. It's not something that I want to let go, and to be honest, I still love games the exact same way that I did when I was a kid. I just have to realize that the relationship that I have with this hobby is significantly different than it was back then. And coming to that realization is ultimately going to be what gets me out of this struggle period that I'm in currently. It's difficult. It's hard to feel something change, but change is a part of life, especially as you grow older. And I think that's the key lesson to learn from this video if you take away anything. That if you feel your relationship with gaming, or any hobby for that matter, is changing, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's just time, and maybe you just have to learn to love things a little bit differently to keep them in your life. Ultimately, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching this one. I know it was very different than my normal content, but hopefully you still enjoyed it. We will be back with another video sometime in the future, so I hope you tune in for that one. Consider liking and subscribing. Of course, that would help me out. And we will see you guys on the next video.